Well, let's talk about the first scene, then let's talk about the bar scene, because those were both very problematic.
So mariachis, at the beginning, you know, we were talking.
Have you written our lyrics yet?
Something to the effect of, you know, we're gathered, my friends, you know, a tale of the hero who you know, who has yet to enter his story, you know. And like all legends must die. I mean, I think we have to set up also the blackness of them. Yeah. Our purpose is to sing of a hero, but the problem is our hero has not entered his story. Yeah. You know, and you start the movie.
And all heroes, as you know.
So the next time you see them, they're like, he's going to die. You know, he's like, we got a purpose now. You know.
The sort of primordial phase of Rango, I would say, was 2003 at a breakfast with John Carls and David Shannon at Arts Deli. David and John pitched a Western with creatures of the desert.
The three of us got together and started, you know, meeting over lunch or a glass of wine and talking about characters and talking about where the story might go. And I did a few sketches, and pretty soon the characters, you know, started to take shape.
I wrote up a couple of pages that had, you know, the Great Pretender. You had him coming into this town. You had the sort of Chinatown subplot. He's the patsy. He's made sheriff. He starts asking questions. They bring in the hired gun. He's revealed as being a fraud and a phony, and exile and catharsis and return. And all those things were in this sort of 4-page outline.
I think we started off with a simple, solid outline, and then Gore's decided, God, I love this so much, I want to direct it. But we got to hold off for a minute. I'm going to go direct this one Pirates movie, which, of course, grew into 3 films, and now here we are, you know, 5 to 6 years later.
So here's what I'm thinking. I do think it's nice to open on a glass of water, since water is iconic of the whole movie.
I came back and pitched the outline to John Logan, and he kind of immediately keyed onto this identity story. He's like, well, this is an identity quest. This is the journey of a guy who doesn't know who he is. And so that really gave us a kind of target.
The hand grabs the thing, boom, and does this final thing.
In the show,
and in the show.
Join with me in the great tear to the hero. Yeah. It's funny, because I've known Gore for years, and we've always been looking for something to do together. So we had lunch, as we do periodically, and he said, how about an animated movie? And I said, oh, no, that's so not for me. It's not my sensibility. I'm not funny. I'm not particularly, I'm known for sort of as a tragedian, as a very serious sort of writer. I said, but what's the story? And he said, well, I envision a Don Knotts movie with a lizard set in the desert with a bunch of Western characters. And I thought for about 20 seconds, I said, I have to do it, you know, because it sounded so much fun. And the idea of playing in the genre of the Western and playing with all those Western archetypes, like the bad gunslinger, the shifty mayor, the ranchers, all of that, I found very interesting.
It came from character first. I mean, it's a Western. So in a Western, I can't escape that, those archetypes and that language. And the sort of cinematic language evolved out of those compositions and out of those early storyboards where we were saying, okay, these are going to be, you know, all the kind of classic compositions that you don't see typically in animation. That's just sort of ingrained in kind of my how I think and how I, you know, when you kind of imagine a construction of shots.
This was very early on. This was one of my first passes when I first started kind of getting into the story. And I was thinking about what Gore said and thinking about the spaghetti westerns. And I did this piece in an attempt to go, no, this to me is what those films were all about. That pushing that depth of field, that black against white, that high contrast. And this piece in particular kind of, I think, kind of inspired Gore to go, this is the kind of movie we want to make. This is the direction let's start heading into.
We actually need something that adds up over a series of scenes. There's somebody dumping water in the desert. They've cut off my credit. You know, I go to the bank. That's all that's left. These things are adding up to, you know, and now the bell rings, and we're all going to go to this ritual. I feel like
but they're not adding up to that. They're adding up to something totally different.
They have to add up to that.
I don't see how they can.
John Logan keeps you honest. I mean, you're conjuring, you're riffing, you're writing bits of humor, and John is like looking at the big picture and saying, this is a myth.
We want Beans to be escalating the water story to suggest there's a crisis. but we can't have a crisis until the water doesn't come.
He's super literate, so you get a sense of kind of, you know, what is dramaturgically correct.
The concept of less water is coming is just, that's too fine. It's muddy dramaturgical thinking.
If water comes on Wednesday, then she has no problem.
But she's expecting the water to come.
So she has no problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
The most exciting part for me has been watching, you know, the production model that we've built, a small team of artists, you know, working with a visionary director like Gore, and really see it take shape quickly.
Bring the flux capacitors. Are they phasing right now? Are the flux capacitors phasing?
They're phasing.
There's, you know, an efficiency here that's, you know, working, and, you know, part of it is this wonderful, you know, workspace that we've been privileged to have for the first stage of the film.
This environment has been definitely one of the main factors that have helped keep us producing at a rate. The vibe is wonderful, the guys are always happy, and we look forward to coming in here. It's been probably the best year of work that I've ever had in my life.
Gore had a vision of just a house in the Hollywood Hills with a beautiful lawn, and you can just incubate an idea and give it as much time as it needs to have. And the great thing about it is it's a place that people want to come.
This is my quest, that's what I'm telling you, come.
All right, here, grip, pull, just do it. Pull it. Oh, dear. It's not work, it's play. Let's be honest here.
One, two, that's my goal.
We spent 16 months in a house working on the story reel, which is basically you could watch the whole movie in pencil sketches with temporary voices.
The easiest way to always describe it is we take the script and essentially make an enormous comic strip.
So that you can watch it as a movie and judge it and critique it and decide if it's working or not, and decide where you have to add a line or where you have to shorten a scene or where you have to add a scene.
And whatever you do, don't look me in the eye. Stay out of my peripheral vision.
What they had in that animatic was so good, I honestly went to Gore and thought, you know, I don't think you need me, really.
Which is a wedge-shaped area of optical visuality in a 90-degree arc.
I like what Jim did. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd leave Jim's voice in there and lose the actor guy.
Man your stations, battle stations. All right, so Tom, so show me what you got there, what you got going on.
Well,
show me those things that we just...
Those poses?
Yeah. The movie is about character first. I mean, it's a Western, so it came from kind of this feeling of, you know, who were those guys that you saw in all those Westerns that were sort of those character actors? And then sort of reverse engineering that and looking at what creatures we have of the desert that we can draw from. The mayor, for instance, had to have been there, you know, for a long time and be wise, and this tortoise came to mind. Having a sense of, you know, Rango is this aquatic chameleon that he can't survive in the desert. Rattlesnake Jake, obviously, you know, villain, and then really throwing out to Jim and Eugene and to Crash and to David Shannon, you know, okay, go.
Where are we? That's all your stuff back in there. I don't... All right, people, let's go.
David Shannon, children's book author, you know, great illustrator, keen sense of character.
Rango, Rango. Cut that.
Jim Burkett, who's been my collaborator for years, great storyboard artist, great sense of composition, great idea guy. Crash McCreary, you know, great sense of kind of creature, great sense of style. Eugene Yelchin, his paintings are completely abstract, and whose drawings are kind of boldly theatrical. So you've got these completely divergent styles, all coming together, putting their sort of egos aside, have this wonderful respect of each other and each other's craft.
Let's check on Crash. Crash, you here? Crash! Where's Crash? Let's get some... Hey, Crash!
We were all drawing sometimes the same character. Everybody'd have a little different take, and, you know, you'd think, oh, well, you know, I really like what Crash did there. I'm gonna start stealing some of that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, because, you know, to actually be told that you can steal stuff, that's good. Because everybody does anyway.
It's like a marriage. You know, it either brings the best in you or the worst in you. So in this particular scenario, I think it brought the best in everybody.
All right, where's Crash? He's back, okay.
Eugene did the initial sketch of this. You can tell that this guy is sort of a sophisticated gambler, but if you remove his hat, you know, that's a totally different guy. And Eugene just has this perfect sense of what little details to add that give somebody their unique character.
It's Crash? Crash! Where is he? Did he go? Is Crash gone?
Waffles started as a very loose, very simple pencil sketch by Dave Shannon that we all just instantly fell in love with. And you can just see from that drawing, like, you know what that character is. He's the guy that's like, hey, Rango, I can't wait to go on a posse with you.
Let's check on Crash.
You've got a lot of different styles, and you could easily end up in a place where nothing's uniform and nothing is, you sort of lose intention. But as long as we processed everything through Crash, you know, there's a kind of hugely unifying effect that Crash would have upon that work. And so he would redraw everything.
Show me some stuff.
Let's see.
It's fantastic.
These characters are, you know, they're going to appeal to that side of kids that sometimes adults don't realize kids have. You know, that sometimes adults want to talk to kids like this, and the kid just goes, oh, please, you know, give me something cool.
Oh, we're so grateful. We do have a new sheriff, and we are so hopeful that he is going to help us and find out what happened.
Who's this?
Rango, he's that tall, skinny fella who glints in the sunlight.
The lizard.
Claims he's from the far west.
He could be.
So he's Oriental.
What's his name?
Rango.
Oh, I know him.
So, very early on, Jim's first pass at Rango back here.
Half of his face was sideways. He had one eye that was too big, you know, a little kink in his neck, and that was it. It was like, that's our guy.
And I had done this drawing based on that, but in trying to put too much detail into the face, we lost a lot of that character. We've been exploring Rango for over a year now, and it's difficult in the sense that you know there's more that can come out of him. So he's proven to be quite the difficult guy to nail down.
We went through a whole process where we went through Rango and kind of the various expressions, making sure we can capture, you know, the full range of what Johnny's bringing to the character and via his performance. It just shows you that we're going to be able to translate every aspect of that performance, and that Johnny will be driving the character. You know, it's not a disembodied voice. You know, he is Rango.
I'm from everywhere there's trouble brewing and hell waiting to be raised. Papa's going to work to be a lizard. Name's Rango. Daddy has to be a lizard today. I mean, what more do you say?
Let me tell you something, we all love beans.
Oh, well,
I like my rice too. But he be liking some other kind of beans, if you know what I'm talking about.
I'm unhappy with the cup size. I said to Gore, I think Beans needs much bigger breasts. It's very important. It's in my contract that all my characters have very large breasts.
Beans, there's Beans in her catatonic state, you know?
And she'll just freeze.
It's a defense mechanism. Lots of lizards have it.
These are some of the first drawings. You know, we had certain character elements that we wanted to get, that she was like this kind of demure little thing, but then she would just go crazy when she was, you know, if you crossed her. But that's kind of how things start. They just start with little, you know, kind of scrubby little drawings. And then, of course, when Crash gets a hold of them, he puts all that great lighting on them and everything.
I'm very happy with the way Beans looks. I love the kind of pagan curls. I love the dress. I love how fierce she is. But I love that she's got, you know, fine, chiseled features. If I was to be a lizard, I'd want to look just like Beans.
Now, who's running the town of Dirt? I'm still trying to figure that out.
He's a wonderful person and a very good mayor.
Who we think is a great guy.
Fantastic.
He would never wrong us.
No, that would never happen.
The scene that I'm working on right now is Meet the Mayor, and Rango is going to be made sheriff, and basically the mayor manipulates him. I've drawn several scenes with him, and he's one of my favorite characters to draw because he he's evil. And, you know, evil is the new good.
People have to believe in something. Right now, they believe in you.
We went through a whole process. There's Eugene, there's Dave Shannon, right? And there's Crash.
I think I like his look better than mine. I like his look a lot. One of the things he can do, because he's a turtle, he has a wonderful way of stretching out a long neck and looking about him like this. I kind of wish I could do that same thing.
But you got to watch out for that snake. He's the devil. He's the devil. He's Satan himself.
He's full of venom.
He's the devil.
It's sexy, but crazy all at the same time. You know it's bad for you, but it's good for you, too.
This is just after the climax. The snake, who's like the, almost like the Jack Palance character, the hired gun, has come in, and he was going to kill Rango, but then he realizes that his boss, the mayor, was going to kill him and double-crossed him.
This is kind of an early Rattlesnake Jake, you know, where it still feels safe. You know, there's something very safe about it and cartoonish, and where we've brought Jake to is a much more scary, realistic, kind of scary place.
So Jake's rattle is sort of made from the kind of cartridges of various pistols, and they rotate, and it's kind of a Gatling gun. Here's an early Eugene drawing, and then we decided, like, well, he has no hands, so that he can articulate his rattle, pick things up, spin glasses, you know, grab a gun, and that's going to be quite fun to take that from this kind of rudimentary drawing into kind of final.
Whenever there's some kind of scaly, reptile-y kind of character around, he thinks of me, which, you know, I'm not complaining. I love the way he looks. The drawings are by Crash, who did the drawings for Pirates of the Caribbean, and he's a genius. And they are beautiful. And if you're going to be a snake, then if you're drawn by Crash, you're in good shape.
Right now, I'm immersed in character land because we really had to populate, you know, this world with a lot of different characters, and we couldn't do it all with just prairie dogs and roadrunners.
Here are some great guys. So Ezekiel and Jedediah are two of our rodents. Not the sharpest knives in the drawer, you can tell. So they're the kinfolk of Papa. Balthazar is our kind of blind rodent bank robber character, and you can see progress here made from a Dave Shannon drawing into a Crash drawing.
I just felt like we needed a sort of a prospector, old codger guy. You know, what are you doing in these parts there, sonny? And Crash, you know, give it some life, give it some more texture.
These guys were all based on drawings that Eugene had done. He was just kind of churning out these great, you know, we need 4 little kids that are the town kids, including Priscilla, who is featured more so than the rest of them. They're cute to an extent, but at the same time, you don't really want to pick them up and cuddle them.
Then this was, I think he's called Wounded Bird now. And this was a little farther along. The first drawing was really rough. It was just a little line drawing.
Wounded Bird sort of went through a whole process. Here he is here, and you can see how he kind of came out. He's very stoic, silent.
Well, there's a lot of bad guys, from the red-tailed hawk that swoops in and causes mayhem in the town.
This is Bad Bill, who is the bad guy but doesn't know any better to not be bad.
And then there's Stump and Kinski and Chorizo, the rat, and they are part of Bad Bill's gang. They're the sort of local thugs.
Oh, yeah. Some people think that's a self-portrait, but I don't know. I think anything that anybody draws has a little bit of self-portrait in them, but I'm not claiming that one.
It's almost a situation where the background characters are so colorful they could have their own movie. You know, they could have a spin-off show and have plenty to do because each one of them has a history and each one of them has a whole backstory.
So this is the kind of wall of shame where we just, every day we can kind of get a quick snapshot of the variety of characters we have in our movie. And then, you know, you can see like over here, I don't know if you see, we've got You know, just some key frames, again, from some of the aerial combat, from the bat sequence, when things really open up.
At first, it was going to be a shootout at the rodent hideout, and we said, well, how about it's more than a shootout? How about it's like, instead of 12 rodents, it's 300 rodents? You know, this is Gore Verbinski. This is how working with Gore, it's always like this. How about it's 300 rodents, and they're on bats? It's 300 bats swooping down, and Wagner's playing. They've got Gatling guns, yeah, and there's explosives, and there's, you know, blowing up roadrunners left and right, and rocks falling.
I like, you know, a good old-fashioned. You know, but we don't live in those times. And so we needed a little more Mad Max. We needed something, you know, crazy. We needed motion. We needed energy. We needed chase. You know, it just seemed like aerial combat just seemed like that hasn't been done in a Western.
All right, Alex, what do you got? Show me some goodies.
We are pre-visualization artists. We're doing kind of quick and dirty, rough animation so that the director can look at the sequence in a rough form to kind of see if it's working.
Now, could you go back to that shot? Mm-hmm. Is that the one that's supposed to pull back?
Oh.
Go to the storyboard here, because I think it goes from him to him, or maybe he's just not far enough back.
The finished product will take way more than the amount of time that we're taking to do this. I mean, a lot more, so we can get in really quick and actually give a feel to give a sense of like what's going on. And yeah, it's like it gives the directors much better tools.
So this is your sort of orbit around shot, right? And very quickly you're gonna go strap, 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 you know, whoop, 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 and then he'll turn around right into a close-up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was one of the few sequences we actually pre-visualized at the house, because sequences like that, the storyboards aren't really giving you the sense of motion. So you can't really determine the duration of the shot without pre-visualizing it. And then that was really helpful to bring it up to ILM.
Rolling. Speed. Remark. Remark.
And action.
Good sirs, gracious good afternoon to thee and thee. May I present Madame Lupon's terpsichorean troupe of traveling thespians?
Normally the way you shoot an animated movie is, well, it's only for sound, so you're in a very sterile booth with no one to play opposite except the director. So it's a very isolating experience.
Suspend your disbelief and experience entertainment's tragical, comical, historical, and bilingual.
And what we're doing on this project that's different is we've got all the actors together, ensemble, interacting with one another, kind of trying to get that magic that happens when the actors are together. So we're getting a lot of improv and interesting accidents and things that you don't get in a recording studio with a single actor.
Bang, you hear a gunshot, bang, and just give me 3 seconds of,
Animation's not a genre, it's a technique for telling a story. So why abandon the things that, you know, you've kind of relied on in your career? When you're making a film, you've got everybody on set, and everybody gets on their game because there's another actor, and they're reacting to each other.
Blend in.
But what are you saying?
Too late.
No, it's not too late. It's not too late. I'm blending. Watch me blend. I'm a blender. Oh. Hey.
Hey, psst. What are you doing?
I'm blending.
Go blend somewhere else.
He's saying calm down, you guys are crossing.
Yep.
Next time we see you, you're in the crowd.
Yeah.
And then we just set up.
Just the interaction that you get from other performers, it's just so much more creative and so much more rewarding, really, as a performer.
There's conjunctivitis. It's her runs in the family.
We wear the hats and the braids and you know, some people wear the costumes and everything just because I think that it does help you get sort of into your character more.
I will blow that ugly right off your face.
I'm getting tutued.
I think they help facilitate the character that you're doing. I mean, I know it does me. I don't generally walk around like this, but it adds something to it for me. I wear a different poncho, a different color.
This is his own.
Hold on now, Jake. There's no need. And then he turns on you.
He puts you in your place.
It's not like it would be actually if we were filming a scene, per se, but I think it's probably very helpful. As a matter of fact, I had the pleasure of meeting one of our animators on the set one day, and he was very sure about the need for that.
Hold on there, Jake.
Let me do my job. You brought me in there. We're gonna play this thing out to the end.
Normally what we'd do is we'd film ourselves doing various scenes and use that as reference. But if we can reference Johnny Depp's behavior and the quirks that he has, I mean, it's just going to help the animation so much more. It's just going to inform the character a lot better.
Help! Open the door!
Instead of motion capture, it's kind of emotion capture.
Oh, evening, Gordy. Now, you get back on in there and you assert yourself, and I think you'll find the people of this here town to be surprisingly hospitable.
Thank you, Sheriff. What? Not you again.
I stand corrected. What I said to Gore is the best description of it is kind of like being on the Carol Burnett show or Hee Haw or something.
Which one of you fellas needs a checkup?
Gore and Johnny have no reservations about playing, and it sort of frees everyone up or gives us permission to really physicalize and vocalize the lives of these characters.
You know, give me a little laugh.
Oh, what?
There are times when you sort of come out of character and think, wow, I'm acting opposite Johnny Depp. But Johnny's such a professional, and he puts you so at ease, and he's so gregarious and ingratiating that he's just made the whole process feel just really easy.
Only takes one bullet.
You ain't got the nerve.
It's lovely to work with Johnny. Johnny's a gentleman. He's a charming guy. He's a funny guy. He's incredibly smart and clever as an actor.
Good thing I brought some backup.
He's also, you know, as a leading man, he's very welcoming and generous. And now he owes me dinner.
This part was designed for Johnny. There's no movie without Johnny. I mean, from its outset, from working with Johnny on Pirates and talking about how's the lizard going, oh, it's good. I'm describing scenes to him, and having done 3 movies with Johnny, it was really interesting to try to think about what he would do with the character.
Choleric varmints, ain't they? Dysfunctional family. Need intervention.
Everyone's here. Johnny Depp and Isla Fisher and Ned Beatty and Harry Dean Stanton, who I got to meet yesterday, which was a thrill.
What the hell's going on over there?
They're having
What kind of movie is this?
kind of in a funny way, we wish it was going to take us longer. Our part of it might be done before I wish it was, because I've really enjoyed the people I've met on this film.
'Tis I.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Such an amazing cast. For people who will never be seen.
We're here at ILM's Presidio compound, Pentagon of Visual Effects, where a team is working diligently day and night to bring Rango to life. I would say basically 90% of everything was designed when we brought it to ILM. Execution was sort of at 0. Our story is an identity tale. It's a character piece. That's why it's very important that we're doing this movie at ILM, because of what we learned with Davy Jones, kind of really nuanced performance. I mean, I think we really want to take what we're used to seeing as an animated movie and take it to a place where we are seeing in eyes, in characters, nuance of a level that we're just not accustomed to. I went up there with, 30 animators and took them through the entire story. It's casting. There's no other way to look at it. They're talent, and you're trying to cast them in your movie, and you want the best.
I think we know even before going in, we're probably never going to have a Tex Avery take where a character's off the ground, straight as a board, his eyes bulging out. If a director had come in here with a film that was a lot more conventionally cartoony in style, there might have been a question about whether it was a great fit for ILM, but it sort of leveraged things that we're good at And at the same time, it caused us to stretch new muscles and reach for things that, you know, we hadn't done a lot of here.
We really want to make this a creative process for you as well, not just handing off a blueprint to say, just follow this. Any input and you know, creative suggestions you have are completely welcome.
None of the major players on this had worked on an animated feature before. So it seemed like a really interesting, intriguing look to try and achieve.
What was that for?
You're funny looking.
The first bit of animation exploration we did was right after Rango's entered town and he gets hit by a rock and he has this little snippy exchange with Priscilla, just to explore both, you know, what is the photographic look of this movie and then what's the motion style of this movie.
The look that we're going for is sort of what we're calling like a photographic look rather than a photorealistic look, meaning that we're trying to make it look like it could have been filmed. So we're paying attention to things like depth of field, you know, so there's like, you know, the camera lenses that we're using, how much blur you get from those camera lenses, what is your f-stop set to. We look at things like exposure. So we're trying to make everything feel as realistic as we can, but feel photographic as we can without having to be completely photorealistic.
The town of dirt that we go into has to feel believable. It had to feel organic. It had to feel like it had been there a long time. A lot of texture, a lot of materials that were introduced from found objects in the desert. So these are the buildings in the town of dirt, and in the town, again, it's scavenged from all different things in the desert. You're going to find at the saloon that a gas can makes up the bigger portion of the saloon interior. The barber shop has the big straight razor hanging from the outside. The dentist shop has an old set of dentures hanging on the outside. Water towers, there's the big teapot down there. So there's all kinds of fun little things that you're gonna discover in the town if you want to go back and look for it. No right angles, that's a reminder for us that, again, animals have built this town and they're really poor model makers, so they're never going to get anything at 90 degrees. They'll be lucky to get it at 87 degrees or 83 degrees. So everything's a little bit off, you know? You set a marble on the floor and guaranteed it's going to go from one end of the room to the other.
We're here at ILM's render farm. These babies are crunching numbers day and night to make up the individual frames that compose the motion picture Rango. Now, they're tricky little beasts, but as long as you take care of them, they won't let you down. Here you go, buddy. Have two.
We had a lot of artwork from Crash for the characters, but they were all two-dimensional pieces of artwork, and we didn't have any maquettes built. So we had no way of actually visualizing some of these characters from the side or from the back. What we did was we spent, you know, a couple days per character and built a three-dimensional model in the computer so that we could actually spin around it and make sure that the proportions were gonna look right.
Communicating that design to ILM became a little bit of a struggle because when you have something that's asymmetrical in one view and you rotate it, you start to lose the second eye or the nose is too big or, you know, and then you modify it for the profile and then you go back to the front view and you've lost what you loved. They're kind of pushing and pulling and trying to maintain the classic expressions that you like about the character.
Some of the characters took up to 3 months to build. Rango actually probably took us about 8 months to fully achieve, but that's just because he's the main character. He's in pretty much every single shot.
Normally, all these animated films, you see these big, huge eyes, and that's basically the characters, it's these two giant eyes. So when we saw the drawings for these eyes, it was like, wow, these are really different. Instantly, I was like, will this work? We did end up incorporating a little bit of the little independent orbiting. You know, we'll just off-time them a little bit. But the big breakthrough, I think, for me as going through the process was he's got these fleshy eyes, and they've got these rings around them. Once you start to distort those, you can start to make different expressions out of them.
You know, we started creating sadness and confusion and epiphany or you know, betrayal, creating those emotions not so much just inside the eye, but using, you know, the whole eye casing.
Ma. Crunchy, creamy, cookie, candy, cupcake.
You know that Johnny Depp is going to bring a lot to the table, and he he did. When we start hearing his voice reads and the way that he interprets the character, it totally informs us, and then we can take some of his little nuances and things that he does that make his performances so unique.
The stage is set.
He definitely had a very steamy intensity in these scenes as he's setting up his play. As you can see, we'll get various performances from Johnny on this so that we can extract bits and pieces in the parts that Gore thinks work best.
To take her own life.
Just hearing the inflections from the voice acting, that already gives us a lot of ideas and clues as to what the body language would be.
Get your slimy web phalanges off my boots!
Isla Fisher, for example, she was the voice talent, and there was such a richness and personality in her voice, so that already, you know, gave us a lot, you know, for Beans.
What are you involved in?
And then also, like, for the particular shots, yeah, I really tried to get into and try to figure out the situation and what I would be doing if I were her, you know, given the circumstances.
I will not sell my ranch!
I'd shoot some reference and try different takes and just see how it would feel. But I was definitely trying to get into the situation and, you know, just really immerse myself in what the feeling would be at that moment.
Animating Jake was a beast, you know, because every scale had to kind of interlock without penetrating.
The scales on Rattlesnake Jake were all built as separate geometric pieces. Closest, I don't know how many, 70,000 or something like that.
He has a lot of facial detail on him because he has all the scales on his face, and those all have to move correctly when he's talking. And then we had the whole deal of the body. We see him really close up, so we actually have individual scales on the body that can slide against each other.
Gore actually was referencing when Ripley was meeting the Queen Alien, and this is kind of a similar moment. We also try to incorporate the fangs kind of through his speech when he really kind of opens his mouth to really enunciate certain words. The fangs just kind of flash out a little bit.
¿Dónde están tus huevos? ¿Dónde están tus huevos?
Directing an animated feature is it's a pretty demanding thing since you're creating entire worlds. Like every detail is something that has to be thought about and designed and placed. And so Gore definitely has a say about everything, and he has an opinion about everything.
That looks amazing, John. My only question is, what our shadow density? Have you seen it heavier and it was too much?
I've never worked with a director who really looks at the detail so deeply. There's a scrutiny that's going on with every corner of the frame, everything in the frame he wants to have input on.
The crowd shot felt like it could use some depth.
Yeah. It's nice for somebody who's creating the images. It's great because you know he's taking the time to look at this stuff.
It's really great, very sad, lonely. He's going to see the mayor. In animation, there's no real time. Everything is fabricated. Everything is sort of frontal lobe. Everything is conceived. Every moment, every blink, every, scratch and look, everything is a discussion. There are no gifts, there are no happy accidents in animation. It doesn't look like he's penetrating him. It's like, this is my quest. He waits for me.
Right.
The intensity actually spills because the eyeline changes rather than like seeing through to the back of the skull.
Yeah.
There were a lot of lectures where it's like, stop thinking about the shot and start thinking about the scene. So let's talk about the scene. Where's the protagonist coming from? Where is he going to? What's happened immediately before? Why is he slightly more blinky this time? Why is he agitated? I feel like this is my quest. It's a shrug. So this is my quest. He can drift on that.
Right.
This is my quest. But then once at the end of the quest, boom, he finds him, right?
Yeah.
And then he shouldn't leave him. It was useful also to have the performance reference, the live-action performance reference, where we could pull them up in front of the animators and we'd say, look at what's happening here. So little twitches underneath the eyelid, little things that are involuntary became very important.
So let's lose the eye scans. And can you try a version where you just bump this pupil in just a hair?
That's a tremendous amount of work, and those guys were really inspired, and it was nice to have discussions with them about character, not about technology.
Here
secret motion control camera facility, we're able to photograph as a peek into a virtual world.
One of the other aspects we've been trying to bring to the animated feature world is tools that allow Gore to leverage his strengths. He's an extremely good live-action director, and he's used to being able to block through scenes with his actors, to be able to walk around on the set with Director's Finder and find shots. So for a number of the sets, we had virtual versions of them set up on the motion capture stage so that Gore could walk around inside a computer set with a virtual Director's Finder and find angles that look good to him and to be able to work the way that kind of fits into his comfort zone.
Top secret, don't tell anybody about this.
We have a lens kit similar to what Gore would have on set. He loves his 27mm lenses, but we can switch to, a 17.5, 14.5, 21, all the way to some, crazy 250mm lens.
Can we rotate Elgin's clockwise? Yeah.
So after we're done with the final camera, all of this goes over to the lighting department, and they light it and add all sorts of atmospherics and effects and make it nice and dirty and gritty and bright or dark.
Here we've got complete freedom to light it in whatever way works dramatically, and so that's been a creative challenge since typically we're following the lead of a good DP. It's been really educational and helpful to have Roger Deakins involved.
I kind of like seeing his hand.
Yeah, I know, that's what I want.
And then as he comes in, you can just...
ILM is used to matching plates, right? So we have no photographic plates for them to match to. So there become lengthy discussions about, hey, Roger, how would you approach this?
That seemed hotter, didn't it? I mean, the effect in the dust.
It was very important that when you see this, it felt hot and nasty and high noon lighting. There's a lot of nasty lighting, and Roger was key to all that. And also the quality of the light, how much diffusion, the color temperature of the light. Like in the bar was really tricky, just shafts of light coming through and holes in the ceiling with sunlight coming through, and how much of that is bouncing back.
If this were in the bar, I know she's not in the bar, it should be a sharper light, shouldn't it? So it's a bit more of a Irish look sort of thing.
It was a sequence that we talked about very early on with Gore, and about how, how he really wanted it to feel like really gritty, like you see in the spaghetti westerns. That one really sticks out to me as a sequence that I've enjoyed working on. I think looks really cool. So it's been a much more creative process for me in that respect, and really exciting to get to work with like top-notch director and cinematographer, and just sort of come up with the lighting scenarios for each of the sequences.
I think it was just pure, unalloyed joy for the animators to have that kind of work to do for this long a stretch. In fact, none of them wanted it to end. As stressful as it could be at times and as hard as the work was, they all said, can't we just have more shots? I just want to keep going. I want to do more. Can we start on the sequel today, So I'm ready for a rest break, but they're very excited and they want to do more.
They're family. I mean, it's not the computers, it's not the company, it's not the corporation, it's the people, And for me, that's John Knoll, that's Tim Alexander, that's Hal Hickel, that's the whole team, all the guys that, have rendered and worked on shots on Pirates over the years. They're my team, they're my guys, and I would never want them to work on a movie that they weren't inspired to work on.
Very nice, but my finger is now stuck to my mustache. That is crazy. Removal.
I really enjoy collaborating with Hans. He wants to reinvent constantly. So like when he hears something that informs him and gives him an angle on something, he'll take it.
Definitely a bit of Fellini tragedy there. Good. The music is pretty eclectic in this, and it changes from scene to scene. That's part of the great thing about this. We get quite profound and quite serious in places, and in other places we're just silly, we're just absurd. So picture this. It's a Italian marching band in a small little village somewhere in the mountains. After a couple of glasses of red wine, they're really trying to play bang on, but it's just not quite, the Barolo is preventing them. Absurd, I think, is, you know, if you embrace absurd in a serious way, I think you're getting there. That was excellent.
Very good.
Yes.
So
There's to be sweetness. Okay, hang on. So when I was a kid, growing up, there was this Italian trumpet player none of you will have heard of, called Nino Rosso, and he used to make all the girls cry, you know, with his playing. Arturo, if you've ever heard of him, can you just go and, you know, make the girls cry? You guys were here this afternoon when, you know, magic literally happened. Arturo Sandoval walking in, and really, I needed a fourth trumpet player. I didn't know I was getting, you know, arguably the world's greatest trumpet player. Okay, Arturo, ignore the gaps. Just play over the chord changes. Did you just play?
Improvise.
Improvise. The thing is, it's about who you say that to. Saying it to Arturo is very specific somehow, because I want, you know, I want to hear this man, and I know what he will do, you know, and it's casting. You cast your musicians just the way you cast your actors.
Whoa. Did the girls cry?
Well,
She's crying.
She's crying. Yeah, the girls are crying.
We got, you know, David Hidalgo to come in, and Los Lobos to play on a couple of tunes. And so, you know, because I think with the Zimmer comes all, you know, you get a call from Hans, and you get, you know, session players start coming out of the woodwork. And so we had immense kind of professional quality recordings, and we also still had this really lo-fi kind of origins. In fact, he's quite often trying to get back to the demo, you know, because film scores get really kind of synthetic.
All right, Wyatt, let's go. Act 2.
If Rango is as entertaining as fun as I think it is, it's because the spirit behind it was always, let's have fun. Let's tell a really cool, fun story about a character that we love.
I think that's really important when you're making any kind of project, is you don't think about what are kids gonna like. Hopefully, you just think about what the kid in you likes, you know, or what the grown-up in you likes. So with me, it's about the same thing.
You could be 3 and you can be 93 and virtually get the same kind of charge out of it.
I found a human spinal column in my fecal matter once.
You might want to get that looked at. Doc, I'm preoccupied. At the moment, I'm preoccupied.
I feel like we've crossed a line in this conversation.
The humor in the movie is very funny and irreverent, but underneath that, there is a deeper, darker story and theme.
Especially nowadays, you know, I think identity is such a strange thing. We're so rarely ourselves that I think this is really an exploration of self, and ultimately that I don't know if you ever really find yourself, you know.
Very good. Who are you if you just spend your life pretending to be other things? And at the core of that is really, you know, who doesn't want to be loved? I mean, who doesn't want to blend in? Who doesn't want to feel like they belong?
All right, back to work.